Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our regular council meeting for Wednesday, October the 23rd. I'd like to advise you that this meeting is being audio, video recorded, and live streamed on the Town of Innisfil's YouTube channel and shall form part of the record, which will be retained in accordance with the town's retention bylaw. And I'd like to welcome those who are here in person and also those that are watching online, members of council and staff. Thank you for being here. Just a quick reminder, if you have your cell phone on you, if you could please put it on silent or vibrate so that it doesn't interrupt the proceedings. And I'll ask our Deputy Mayor to please provide the land acknowledgement.
Thank you, Your Worship. The Town of Innisfil acknowledges that Innisfil is situated on treaty land that is steeped in rich Indigenous history. The town also acknowledges that this land is the traditional territories of the First People of Turtle Island. It is shared between the Anishinaabe peoples of Beausoleil First Nation, Chippewas of Rama First Nation, and Chippewas of Georgina Island First Nation, and we thank them for generations of stewardship. This meeting place is still home to many Indigenous people, and as settlers, we are grateful to have the opportunity to work on this land. The town acknowledges the forced sacrifices that are the foundation of Canadian society today. We are dedicated to honoring the Indigenous history and culture and committed to moving forward in the spirit of reconciliation and respect with all First Nation, Métis, and Inuit.
Thank you. Now we'll move to item 2, which is open forum, the opportunity for people to speak to any item on the agenda, and we had no one sign up for open forum this evening. So we'll go to item 3, which is the approval of tonight's agenda, which has been on the website for a week for anyone to look at. And I would ask for a mover and a seconder, please, to approve those items, and that would be Councillor Richardson and Councillor Drodge. All those in favor? Thank you very much. Are there any disclosures of interest, pecuniary interest, conflict of interest on tonight's items? Seeing none, our next item is item 5, which is presentations and petitions. And we're delighted to have with us tonight Sandra Lee from the Simcoe County Local Immigration Partnership to provide us with a presentation. And please welcome to Innisfil, and whenever you're ready.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Dolan, councillors, staff, and members of the public. Thank you for giving us an opportunity today to share with you the 2023 Community Settlement Strategy that was published at the end of last year by the Local Immigration Partnership. I understand I can advance my own slides. This is awesome, thank you. I just wanted to give you a bit of background about local immigration partnerships, if you're not familiar with them, also known fondly as LIPs. There are approximately 100 of them across Canada, so we're not unique in the work that we do in Simcoe County. And our work is not to work directly with immigrant residents. Our work is to work with members of the sectors of the community, any sector of the community where immigrants might touch, to help share information, resources, to understand the changing demography and encourage potential changes to service delivery as a result of that. To provide some context for the community settlement strategy that I'll be sharing later, I wanted to give you some information that was used to help develop the strategy. So the first one that I wanted to share, and you're probably familiar with the growing immigrant population in Simcoe County, but this is the 2021 census data, and you can see that in Simcoe County as a whole, the immigrant population increased by 33.6%, but in the town of Innisfil, the increase in that 5-year period was almost 50%. One of the other important aspects of the changing diversity in the community that needs to be examined is the change in people reporting a non-official mother tongue. So that is somebody who doesn't declare French or English as their first language. In Simcoe County as a whole, we had an increase of individuals reporting a non-official mother tongue of 40.5%, but you can see that here in the town of Innisfil, it was over 60%. And what that means, I oftentimes speak about the Simcoe County information, which is a little bit lower of a percentage. But if you're seeing 8 people in a day, if you have 8 one-hour meeting times, approximately on average, one person will not have English as their mother tongue. And in Innisfil, that is even higher. So what are the implications? It's very easy to go to a grocery store, pick something off the shelf, and go and pay for it without having much of a conversation. But many of the types of transactions that take place in a community are far more complex than that. Another aspect of immigration is the increasing racialized groups that are coming to the community. Of the immigrant population that is settling in Simcoe County, 42.2% of residents identify as a racialized group, and there has been increases overall. You can see that in the town of Innisfil, of the immigrant population, 39.3% are part of a racialized group, and the overall population in the town of Innisfil has a racialized population of 14.5%. And again, this data is important at looking the recommendations in the community settlement strategy. This is the second round of presentations that I've done. In 2012, when I went out to share information about our very first community settlement strategy, the story about most immigrants arriving in Simcoe County was primarily about secondary migration. So individuals had arrived in the GTA and have moved up to Simcoe County after living in Toronto for a few years. This slide shows changes in that pattern. And direct arrivals are people who are arriving as permanent residents and who have indicated that they plan to live in Simcoe County. Since 2019, you can see that number of direct arrivals has more than doubled. Another important aspect of developing the settlement strategy was hearing from the community. So not just looking at data about our community that the federal government was able to share, but also talking to people in the community. We did that through 4 employer consultations, 2 public community consultations, and a survey with immigrant residents. We asked immigrant residents about their experiences living, working, and belonging in Simcoe County. I don't think we should have given me the clicker. You can see that immigrants' own story of settling in Simcoe County, that almost 50% of them have problems finding work. There's a real disconnect here between what we're hearing from employers and their labor force needs. So there's some solutions that need to be developed to help bridge that gap between immigrant talent and the actual vacancies in the community. Many immigrants also struggled, you can see with 43%, feeling like they belong, making connections and friends in the community. Accessing healthcare was another issue. Finding housing was the 4th. And I know, I don't think you can go to a community that isn't having conversations about housing, the need for housing. I just want to underscore that for immigrant residents, that is much more difficult beyond the existing challenges. Lack of a Canadian credit score, lack of Canadian landlord references, perhaps not a long Canadian work experience, racism and discrimination in housing, all of that make it that much more difficult for immigrants finding housing. Many immigrants are paying 6 to 12 months upfront rent. We also asked them about their experiences of settling, which is more about living and belonging. And so you can see that there's a way to go with over a third indicating challenges and feeling like they belong in Simcoe County. So when we come to the settlement strategy, it brings us to the 3 themes of living, working, and belonging. There's a community action plan with 14 recommendations in that plan. The number one that crosses all of those areas of concentration is the development of a multicultural center in Simcoe County. This was a recommendation in the 2012 Community Settlement Strategy that still remains unfilled. That is an important aspect of attracting immigrant talent to the community and retaining immigrant talent. Under living and working, this goes back to those slides around language and the importance of increasing access to service delivery and considering planning for interpretation and translation needs in budgets on an annual basis. Individuals continue to face racism and discrimination, finding work or in service delivery. Increasing access to equitable housing. We're very happy with the launch of the rental housing aggregator that helps to inform immigrants about average market rents in each of the communities in Simcoe County, but there's more work to be done. Under the theme of working, which is probably the most important theme of this community settlement strategy, is opportunities to bridge that gap between immigrants' challenges finding work and employers' need for labor. That can be done by development of bridge training programs, supporting immigrants in credential recognition, and also supporting immigrant entrepreneurs. And lastly, under belonging, thinking about the different kinds of celebrations we host in our community. So increasing multicultural celebrations, introducing not only immigrants but international students to our service delivery, and providing volunteer opportunities. So what does this mean for the town of Innisfil? Opportunities to think about labor. Most of the labor in Simcoe County, more and more, is immigrant labor. So what does that mean for our labor forces for economic development? We have been to almost all of the forums for workforce development, helping to understand the importance of immigrant integration. Increasing diversity in our communities means that we need to consider addressing equity, diversity, and inclusion in specific ways. And then also, specifically for the town of Innisfil, you have an exceptionally growing immigrant population. You don't have any settlement services in Innisfil. Right now, they would have to get to the city of Barrie, specifically on Bayfield Street and in the Bayfield Mall. So that's quite a ways to go to get language training, to get settlement supports, or employment programming. And then providing connections to community resources and services. And I just want to commend you on your neighborhood nights. We've examined that model for Week of Welcome, and just a really excellent initiative to get people out to understand municipal services. And then opportunities, this is the last slide, for the town of Innisfil. Opportunities to participate in our annual Week of Welcome. We just had our second event. We were able to connect with over 1,000 immigrants in Simcoe County through the activities of that week. So we just encourage the town of Innisfil to consider participating in that. I think many people are familiar with the county's annual It Starts campaign to reduce racism and discrimination that takes place during the month of March. One of the things that has come out of that is a diversity hub. It's an online platform of resources around equity, diversity, and inclusion. I encourage municipal staff to sign up for that free resource. As well, we host monthly lunch and learns related to the Diversity Hub. The last one was on Islamophobia. The one that's coming in November is around parents talking to their kids about racism and discrimination. And so all of that is offered to the public for free. One thing that's coming up that's new is the Simcoe County Workplace Inclusion Charter. It's for employers. It will be launched at this year's Newcomer Recognition Awards, which is November the 7th at Tangle Creek. And so we, again, just encourage you to attend that event as well. And then the last two recommendations for the municipality to provide space for newcomer programming and multicultural celebrations and include immigrants as part of an important population group when you're doing strategic planning activities. And that's everything I have for you tonight.
Thank you very much, Sandra. Questions or comments? I will have a couple. So I thought that the YMCA had some kind of local settlement programming. Is that not accurate?
In the town of Innisfil?
Well, I didn't know where, but I just wondered, so if they did, and if they did, so where?
Yes, so they do have an agreement, and they offer settlement services in Barrie at the Bayfield Mall. Sorry, I should have been more clear on that comment. They may offer itinerant services from time to time in Innisfil, depending on demand, but it wouldn't be a space, and I can't underscore enough the importance of space. To know that you've got a place to go to ask questions. I know that the Innisfil Idea Lab has been a great partner. They're part of our partnership council. But having that place where I know I can ask questions is really important. The YMCA also has the Settlement Workers in Schools program that was launched a couple of years ago. I know they're very busy and at maximum capacity in South Simcoe.
So if you were to give us advice then on how we would grow that idea of having those services in our municipality, like I knew that the Innisfil Idea Lab and Library was very much a part of that and was doing their bit, but should we be advocating to the Y to have some services down here, or what would your suggestion be on how to get services closer to home? Because really, probably Bradford, West Gwillimbury might be the only municipality in Simcoe County whose numbers are higher than ours, but I'm guessing at that.
Yeah. New Tecumseh has gone up quite a bit as well. They also currently don't have a link programming, but they have ESL, which the provincial or the school board offers as far as language training programs. I would just really encourage you to advocate for increasing services in Innisfil through every means and mechanism. In 2024, there was a national call for proposals, and we will be finding out shortly what the new service delivery model for this area will be starting in April 1st, 2025. And so once those announcements are made, those are great times to see what are the agencies that are delivering services and having, trying to direct some of their service delivery to this area.
Thank you for that advice. And it's not uncommon for our area for lack of services for everything, whether that's to get your driver's license renewed, to go to a doctor, to contact community services. They service Alliston and Bradford. So, we're always advocating that, we're a place, not a space, but it takes time to get people to understand that traveling to Barrie is not, or Bradford is not easy and shouldn't have to be when you're a town of 45,000 people. You should have these services in-house, particularly in a growing community and one that's growing in diversity. And I would add that only that we embrace the diverse cultures, and we'll get you a glass of water if you need it, Sandra, sorry. But we have so many multicultural events. I know council, we could go to one almost every week. There's an event that we can attend, and we're thrilled, whether it's newcomers like the Ahmadiyya Muslim Association or the Indian Innisfil Indian Association, or whether it's our Jewish community that has been here for generations and generations. So we are really fortunate to have such a diverse community, and happy to be in a place where we believe, and we try very hard to make everybody feel welcome. So thank you. I think a couple of our councillors have what you have tonight, so I'll let you go now unless there's any other questions or comments from members of council. Seeing none, thank you so much again.
Thank you.
And I would ask that we have a mover and a seconder, please, that the presentation regarding Simcoe County Local Immigration Partnership be received. Deputy Mayor Fowler and Councillor Zanella. All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you very much, and Kim's got some water for you there. So next we have item 6, which is delegation by members of the public. We have no delegations this evening. We'll go to 7, which is the opportunity for members who sit on behalf of the town of Innisfil on other agencies and associations to tell us what they've been up to on that behalf. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yesterday at Council, we had the midterm elections for the warden and deputy warden position, and I am pleased to announce that Warden Basil Clark has been voted in for a second term. He is the mayor of Ramera, and Deputy Warden Jennifer Coughlin was voted in as the deputy warden. Again, she's the mayor of Springfield. I'd like to note that they were acclaimed. There was no one who stood against them because everybody has faith in the job and the work they put in, which is a sign of excellence. So congratulations to both. Speaking of committees and whatnot, the Heritage Committee is very blessed to have Kevin Jacob, and he was nominated recently for a Carlos Venton Award for Municipal Heritage Leadership. And that just goes to show his level of excellence and the work and how integral he is to the Heritage Advisory Committee, because we wouldn't be able to get half the work done we have without his assistance. As well, we had an audit meeting, and once again, it reflects on excellence. Audrey Webb and her team, everything that was brought back to us at the meeting was shown that every T was crossed, every I was dotted, there were no corrections made. And considering the level of work that goes into these reports and the budgets and more, it just goes to show the quality of work that our staff does to support us here. So kudos to everybody tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Richardson.
On Monday, we had our library board meeting. We actually had a similar presentation to what was just now about the community settlement strategy. But also this week is Ontario Public Libraries Week, so make sure you pop in and show some love to our library, as well as a reminder that this Friday is a deadline for the short story contest that runs every year that's very popular.
Thank you. Councillor Zanella.
Thank you. As you are aware, I sit on the South Simcoe Streams Committee, and yesterday we planted trees up at the Ireton Stormwater area. We had a couple of residents. We had Jessica with her 2 boys. You might remember her from the Uber delegation, and Lisa from up on Ireton, and they came out and helped plant trees. And the committee would like to thank the town of Innisfil for the grant that they received that helps us buy some trees and planting materials, and so they're very appreciative of that. And we're always looking for people, so if there's anyone out there that's retired or has some time on their hand and loves to come out and plant trees, please get in touch with me and we can hook you up and have you come out and help us. Thank you.
Thank you, and you had wonderful weather for it this week too, so that makes it even all the nicer. Anyone else that has anything on behalf of the municipality? I have just a couple of things. So the Police Services Board has been very busy this week getting budget ready to present to council, which you'll see over the coming weeks. We had a board meeting. We also had a meeting with the new Inspector General the policing world has had their, the Police Services Act has been replaced by the Community Safety and Policing Act on April the 1st. It's the first time in 40 years this legislation has been changed, and there's lots to learn and lots new. Every member of the board had to go through 4 modules, about 10 hours of training online and pass tests. And the Inspector General himself came to visit us to answer questions about what's different, talk to our senior team, our chief and deputy about what's expected of them, and they will be his deputy inspector general will have the duty to actually do inspections in different areas when they feel the need. I describe it mostly like an ombudsman, like our ombudsman that governs us. It's like an ombudsman for the police. So more to learn there, I'm sure. And then just on the county that the deputy was talking about, it was my honor to nominate Jennifer Coughlin, the mayor of Springwater, not Springfield. They don't eat cats and dogs in Springwater, I'm sorry. So, but I would be remiss if I didn't mention that, you know, I've been on county council for 10 years now, and I don't ever remember saying this before, but I was extremely disappointed in decisions made by the county council this week, and the last meeting as well. As you know, we have 32 members of county council. We're the largest council in Ontario. The governance committee had requested county to move to 17 members. County council chose not to do that. We also know that we are lower paid than our comparators, and the governance committee recommended bringing that pay up, but for the new council. For years and years and years, it's been our practice here in Innisfil and other places never to give yourself a raise. You always give the next council a raise. That was governance's recommendation. However, county council chose to pass a raise immediately for the existing county. So it's unfortunate. It's the House's decision, and so I live with the House's decision. I will only say that I am very concerned that the provincial government will paint us in a bad light with them. Not only did we not reduce our numbers, but raised, over 3 years, raised the pay from $18,000 to $47,000 in 3 years. So I'm just wanted to say that. It was a recorded vote. You can, it's in the public interest who voted for what will be part of the public record. But again, while I'm disappointed in the decision, I respect the decision of county council, and hopefully the raise component won't come to us, but the composition component will, because it's required a triple majority in order for it to pass. So this House will get to debate that piece itself, and we'll see what happens when the provincial government gets a look at it. So that's it for me. And so now we'll go to the consent agenda, and we'll start with the items on the agenda, and I'll just go through them quickly. If anybody wants to refer to committee, please do so. So item A1, the special council meeting minutes dated October the 9th. A2, the council meeting minutes dated October the 9th. B1, the summary of the Innisfil Heritage Advisory Committee meeting minutes. B2, the summary of the Innisfil Accessibility Advisory Committee meeting minutes. B3, the Innisfil Audit Advisory Committee. C1, the town-wide zoning amendment refreshment vehicle provisions. Councillor Drodge.
I'd like to refer that to committee of the whole, please.
Thank you. C2, the Innisfil Recreational Complex Revitalization Funding Request. Councillor Saunders.
I just have a question for staff on that one. With, with the revitalization of all our older buildings, is it possible that we could have a little bit, with the accessibility board, have a little bit of input? Like, we're not ever going to tell you how to do your job, or budget, if we could do something within the budget constraints for the buildings, because I know there's stuff in the RC that we'd like to get done, and there's stuff in some of the other older buildings we'd like to get done. But again, we're not there to tell you to do how to do your job, just if we could slide something in on a budget.
Through you, Mary Dolan, to Councillor Saunders. Absolutely. We do touch base with the committee on a regular basis with all of our capital projects. For example, right now we are doing a replacement of the Knock Community Center accessibility ramp, and we did meet with the committee and get their input on the design of that ramp. So our intention is to continue doing that with all future capital projects.
Great, thanks very much.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Worship. I'm just looking at the numbers here. The $900,000 for the HVAC. We're talking heat and return units, heat pumps, boilers, condensers, and chillers. Is this because they're reaching end of life? Because the building is almost a decade and a half, almost 2 decades old? Because I know that the average shelf life for the boilers that we put in the IRC are near 15 years, considering the models that I'm aware of.
Ms. Bayless, whenever you're ready.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Dolan, to Deputy Mayor Fowler. Yes, most of these are through our building condition assessments. They tell us when these are reaching end of life, so we go off of those assessments. Additionally, we will listen to our contractors who will report to us throughout the year through our monthly and annual inspections and let us know which units are coming to the end of the life or need to be repaired before they break down. So this list is built off of those recommendations.
Deputy Mayor, follow-up?
Thank you. Okay, so we're talking insurance purposes then. The building can't be insured for heating and cooling purposes if they are not up to standard. Because I know with the school board in Toronto, every 2 years they have to do an inspection and an update on the insurance certification. Is that the situation that we're dealing with here to maintain that and so that it can be moved forward?
The boilers are inspected, yes, through TSSA. Some of the units, it's a matter of if they aren't working, then we can't operate the building. And in some cases, for example, the upgrades to the compressors that is within the scope, if those compressors aren't working, we can't operate the ice system.
Any other questions or comments for Ms. Bayless? Councillor Waters.
Thank you, Worship. Just want to give staff an opportunity to talk about that whenever you make large investments like this, this is a time when you start making sustainable upgrades, and just in terms of, can you make a comment on the on that opportunity as it exists right now? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Waters. Yes, in everything that the operations department as a facilities team is working to upgrade and replace each pieces of equipment, we're always looking at the best way to either decrease our GHG emissions or just increase the sustainability of that unit. So that's always in our mind in any capital project that we do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Councillor Waters, just a bit of history. When we were building that building, we did a change order to add, I forget, it was over $1 million, and it was to put the heat exchange from the heat that was produced from making the ice to heat the pool. And I forget how many years they told us that it would be in order to recoup that, but that was one item we made at that time.
That was a good decision.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Anyone else? Seeing none, good luck with the grant applications, and thank you for that. So the recommendation is seen in front of you on the screen. A mover and a seconder, please. Oh, it was just pulled for questions. Sorry, my fault. Thank you. So item C3, the 2023 consolidated financial statements. Thank you. Just a big shout out to Audrey and Mike and their team for all the hard work. I know going through an audit is a monumental thing, and thank you very much for all that work. C4, the MOU regarding the Innisfil Beach Road Phase 2 works. Councillor Waters?
Just a quick question. I'm hoping that this agreement will avoid any type of a repeat of what we had on Innisfil Beach Road last time. So I just want to assure council that that we're taken care of. Thank you.
Mr. Duca?
Through you, Mayor Dolan, if you'd be able to specify a little bit more, I'm just not sure of what events you're talking about last time.
Well, it was the agreement with Innisfil Beach Road with all the complications we had with the dry wells and who was responsible, contractors not fulfilling their duties, that kind of stuff. So just ensure that that doesn't repeat itself in terms of, because that project took almost twice as long as it should have taken to get complete and a lot more money. So I just want to make sure that we have no surprises. Thank you.
I'm going to answer that if that's okay, Mr. Dubka, because it's not fair. It was before your time. So you weren't here then, but it's the county's contractor, and we don't know how much it's going to cost us yet because I believe it's still before the courts with that contractor, but I've been assured by the director at the county that that contractor will never work in Simcoe County again. So having said that, is there Deputy Mayor Fowler?
Thank you, Your Worship. To add to the Mayor's point, as a bit of context, there were 10 site supervisors over a period of the year. When COVID hit, they abandoned projects, not just in Simcoe County, the company, but elsewhere as well. And on top of that, there was a number of stop payments from the county. So this company is well blackballed for a reason. What they've done and how they left everything was not acceptable, and the Mayor and I spoke about it many times at county.
Anyone else? Seeing none, I just wanted to, say that this is a good news story. It is, I believe, still a good idea for in-services and the county and a little bit of town dollars to go to this project. Residents, there's only one taxpayer, and those residents expect that we don't put down a new road and then tear it up the next year to put in water and sewer. So we're doing this as we can together. It does slow us down a bit, but at the same time saves us money. And the multi-use trail is the word I'm trying to get out, I think will be very much appreciated as well in this part. So. Seeing no other hands, we'll go on to C5, applications for approval to expropriate easements on Buchanan Street. Questions or comments on this? I would only make the comment under the 5th bullet that says staff will continue to attempt to negotiate with property owners to acquire the lands. So, we'll still continue to go in that direction regardless of starting the expropriation action. C6, Gateway Site Alteration Permit. Councillor Waters?
I just want to ask a question, if that's all right. So just to ask staff in terms of when we originally passed the MZO for this, I had asked specifically that where they're going to build, and they said there was enough high land on the property that they wouldn't have to touch the lands which have the drainage areas in them and the creeks. So my question is, and I did get an answer from staff, but I just thought it'd be nice for the public to hear it, in terms of bringing over 100,000 cubic meters of soil does all that soil get tested before it goes down? And 2, there was no map to see, but a map was sent to me, so I just want to confirm that the fill is not going to be in the regulated areas of drainage.
Ms. Mohammed?
Thank you, Councillor Waters, and through Mayor Dolan to you. There are quite a few questions in there. So starting with the quantity of fill, so there are a few processes going on right now, like you mentioned, the MZO. There's currently a site plan application for that file as well. So the details of the grading of the site are going to be reviewed under the site plan application. Right now, this site alteration permit is strictly for the import of the fill, and the consultant on behalf of the developer has indicated to us that they require 110,000 cubic meters of fill. Right now, this permit allows them to import the fill. They will not be spreading the fill. That will all be subject to Conservation Authority approval. We have Conservation Authority approval for the fill import, but not the spreading. So far, the preliminary grading plans show that no work is proposed within the 30-meter setback of the flood line of that water course, if that answers your question. So we have that level of comfort that no work will be within the floodplain, much less the setback areas.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And the question about the testing, when does the testing take place, when it's stored there or when it's spread there?
Thank you, Mayor Dolan. So the testing happens before the fill leaves the source site, and then it has to be tested again when it's delivered to the site. And this is all handled by the MECP and those regulations, number of samples based on the quantity of fill, et cetera. And those reports will be provided to the town.
Thank you. Any other questions on that? Councillor Ices.
Thank you, Worship. My question is more along the lines of the volume that is being trucked in and the number of trucks that we might see in that area. Do we have an idea of how long the process will take to get the soil moved?
So through you, Mayor Dolan, to Councillor Ices. Typically, a 3-axle truck will take 10 cubic meters of fill. So we're looking at 10 to 11,000 truckloads of fill that need to be imported. We understand that the source site has been secured, so they have this material available, hence the permit, and that it will take roughly 3 to 4 months to complete the import. And that's also why they're requesting this in advance of the MZO and site plan approval.
Councillor Ices, follow up?
Yeah, thank you, Worship. So my question is, will the applicant provide some traffic help at all times when the trucks are moving in? I know from past experiences, these truck drivers, they get paid by the load, so they're in quite a bit of a hurry to get back to the next one. And for the majority of them, they do that well, but there's always a small percentage that might want to take a shortcut through someone's driveway or something like that. So just a bit of concern about the neighbors in the area and that volume of trucks. So just wondering about how that will be regulated.
Thank you for that question. So we have, as part of the permit, we require a haul route plan, which shows which local roads these trucks are going to be traversing on. And from all indications, trucks will be coming northbound on Highway 400, exiting at Highway 89 at the Cookstown Mall there, and then proceeding from there along Reeve Boulevard to the site at the second line. So the only local road impacted is Reeve Boulevard. I understand through the consultant that they will be staggering the trucks from the source site to control the traffic. And also, I think this might be a question in your mind, we are taking haul route securities as well. So if there's any damage to the road from these activities, then we are able to recoup costs for the damage. So there's only a small section of Reeve Boulevard that will be impacted. So I don't expect in that area that there will be a lot of disruption, especially with the staggering of the trucks.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Councillor Waters.
Thank you for that last bit, because that was going to be my next question around, do we have a security deposit on that? I guess, does that also cover the exit ramp? Because that's a lot of trucks coming to a halt and coming off that exit ramp. So does it include that damage? Does it also include that? Because I can imagine that road's is not used to seeing that type of traffic and that number of traffic on there. So will that be included in that?
We're only able to take securities on our town roads. Okay. We're not able to take on county road or provincial roads. You're welcome.
Thank you. And I guess the good news, if there is some, is that they'll be going straight through. So they'll come off the 400 on the on-ramp, and then they go straight through to Reeve Boulevard, so there's no turning. And this road sees all the Honda traffic, so they're quite used to of that type of traffic. And there'll be, unless they're going to use the second line, there will be 0 homes they're going past. So that would be my question is, are they going to have to use the second line to access the site?
No, based on their haul route plan, they will be entering the site and leaving and heading back onto Reeve Boulevard and getting back on the highway. That's wonderful, because the second line is not hard surfaced, so it would not take that type of beating. Okay, any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all those, no, I don't have to do that, do I? I take that back. So that takes us to item D1, and that's the award of contract for Victoria Green Pond retrofit. And then bylaws, E1, the bylaw to appoint Cordell Verstraeten to the lot grading and septic inspector for the town of Innisfil. Congratulations, Cordell, if you're watching online. F is correspondence for action, the NVCA draft budget booklet, which will go to the budget, through the budget process. And then correspondence for information, FCM, the evaluating net zero emission strategies for 6 municipal buildings in Innisfil. And the proclamation for National Children's Grief Awareness Day. And seeing no others, we'll go to the consent list continued. And I need a mover and a seconder, please, to pull that one item. Moved by Councillor Richardson, seconded by Councillor Zanella. All those in favor? That is carried. And next we'll go to resolve into committee the whole, please. And that's moved by Councillor Saunders and seconded by Councillor Constantine. All those in favor? That is carried. And then we'll go to the refreshment item vehicle, C1, and that was pulled by Councillor Drudge.
Thank you, Your Worship. My seconder is Deputy Mayor Fowler. So I don't know why I pulled it. We had asked all the questions before we went into committee of the whole. But I had a question around abutting properties and the definition of that. And then we'll go with that one first, and then I have one more after that.
Mr. Correa?
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Dolan, to Councillor Drudge. So the distance or setback, if you want to call it that, would be measured from the nearest point of an existing restaurant, the exterior limit of the wall, to the proposed location of a refreshment vehicle that's applying for a license.
And just for clarification, I already know the answer, but that wouldn't account for anything across the street, correct?
Through Mayor Dolan, that's correct. So it would have to be an immediately abutting lot. So if it was consecutive lots over or across a public street, then this requirement would not apply.
And thank you, Your Worship. Just one final question. So it was written here that it has to be the immediately abutting property and not a property within 30 meters. So I'm just trying to visualize that. So if there was a property that was only, say, 50 feet wide abutting the commercial restaurant, then it would not exceed past that 50 feet. It wouldn't go the full 30 meters, which is 150 feet.
Through Mayor Dolan, I'm not 100% sure I understood the question, but just to sort of reiterate, the 30-meter requirement is always measured from, will be measured from the existing restaurant. It could be on the same lot or an immediately abutting lot. The size of the lot would not influence that. I see Director Lee is also here.
Yeah, so I'm just going to read it exactly, and maybe you'll understand a bit better. So the provision would only apply to the immediately abutting property, not any property within 30 meters of the restaurant. And then you're using an example, it's across the street, but my example is it's only the abutting property. So if the restaurant's abutting property was only 50 feet wide, then in essence, the next property that's not abutting would not be within that 150 meters, or sorry, it would be inside of the 150 meters. I'm just looking for some clarification there.
Thank you. So it would only be the immediately abutting property, so they share a lot line. Otherwise, it wouldn't apply.
Director Lee, did you have something you'd like to add?
Thank you, Mayor Dolan. No, Mr. Carrera is correct. I would also just clarify, though, that 30 meters is actually 98 feet, not 150 feet.
Any other questions?
So I guess that's my concern, because it is only the abutting property. I'm not so concerned about across the street, but you know, there would be a situation where most of the properties in Innisfil, old ones, are 65 wide, especially in some of the residential areas, and some of the new residential areas are only 40 feet wide. So I just want to know if we could maybe, or if council wants to entertain this, at making it a straight 30 meters from the building, and not, we can use abutting as in on one side of the road, but to actually hold it true as a 30 meters from the building, not just the abutting property, is what I'm asking.
I understand what you're saying, I think so, but most commercial, well, I guess you could have commercial properties that wouldn't be more than 50 feet wide as well. Questions or comments from anyone else on those thoughts? Mr. Carrera, any thoughts on that?
Through you, Mayor Dolan, only that the zoning bylaw, which is not subject to change, it does speak to which zones are permitted. It's commercial zones, industrial zones, and employment zones, but not residential zones, just for clarity.
Councillor Drudge?
So I guess this would only become a concern. So I like to use Lefroy if at all possible. So that most of the main drag of Lefroy is now changed over to commercial properties, but they are really residential currently properties that are only 50 feet wide. And I guess that's where I'm struggling with this is that particular situation. That's why I'm questioning the 30 meters abutting, and then 30 meters no longer is in account because you're only accounting for just the abutting property, which could only be 50 feet wide. So then you could potentially have a refreshment trailer 50 feet away from a restaurant in a situation like Lefroy.
So I understand the question and appreciate it. I guess to some degree we're supportive. There could be some clustering, like it's not prohibited. It's anticipated that restaurants, whether it's two restaurants sharing two separate units within the same development, will be in close proximity. So from staff's perspective, we're just looking to sort of have transparency that if a food truck or a refreshment vehicle is opening up in close proximity to a business, so within those 30 meters, that there's at least some level of notice, some level of sign off from that property owner. Otherwise, I don't think necessarily we would need to go beyond that.
Did the seconder have any comments?
Just one question. It's of a similar nature. Whereas Councillor Drudge is concerned about the abutting property, my question is more across the road. Is the issue because it's not across the road, because the piece of land, the road that divides the two properties, is that owned, because it's owned by the town, does that negate the radius from that point and the abutment of that property?
Manager Carrera?
Through you, Mayor Dolan. So yes, if there's a public street, then this provision isn't intended to comply. It's meant really to stop, as an example, if you have an established, let's say, burger shop or poutineery, that someone's not kind of opening immediately next door without any sort of, without the owner knowing about it. But it would not apply across a public street.
follow-up, Deputy?
Okay, so just so I'm understanding, because when people bring this to our attention, I want to make sure I give them the most accurate information. The abutting property that goes to a restaurant versus one across the street is the abutting property is owned by the town, which is the roadway itself. That's considered the town property. Therefore, it is not abutting to the property with the restaurant.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Councillor Waters.
I think I'm understanding the concern here. So let me speak out loud and see if I can clarify it in my own mind. So what Councillor Drodge is saying, that if the budding property is only 50 feet wide, that the refreshment vehicle could be on the property next to that. So within the 30 meters, you could have a refreshment vehicle. So my question is, if that's the right definition I'm looking at here, what's the purpose of the 30 meters if that's the case? Okay, I understand, good.
Manager Carrera?
Through Mayor Dolan. So the main reason it's in the bylaw is basically so that if you're in close proximity, that there's at least some level of knowledge between the existing owner and that new business vendor. Perhaps the bylaw could be reworded to be a bit more broad, but the idea was that if it's immediately abutting, it would capture most concerns.
I guess what I want to ask members is, what problem are we trying to solve? So if you have a downtown and if you have, 3 or 4 food trucks clustered in a downtown, and I guess what you're saying is you don't want them close to the brick and mortar restaurant? Is that the... I'm trying to problem solve here, because the last time this came to us, it was about, we kept talking about the Moon Cafe and what was close to the Moon Cafe, but it was about at that point, allowing because they wanted food trucks close to the restaurant, and the bylaw allows that. It doesn't prohibit a food truck if the restaurant says, yes, they would like the food truck to be there. So I just want to know what the problem statement is. Councillor Drosh.
Thanks, Your Worship. Basically, I'm just in the interest of the landowner, the leaser, the person that has that brick and mortar building. They're investing a substantial amount of money to have that building. So I'm just in the interest of protecting the restaurant owner. That's why I just want to make sure it's hard set on a distance. And in the conversation about Moon Cafe, we were talking about 50 meter to 75 meter distance that time, and we realized that would maybe cause an issue for Moon Cafe. So that's why the 30 meters became a conversation back then. But the way it's written today, it wouldn't have mattered anyway, because it's basically negated by the road. So the 30 meters, again, what Councillor Water said, I'm just not sure why we even need it. You just basically could just state that you can't have a refreshment trailer abutting, and then I would go and say not the restaurant building, but the restaurant property would be a cleaner way of putting that, instead of having the 30 meters.
Director Lee, and then I'll go to CEO Jersha.
Thank you, Mayor Dolan. No, you had sort of raised it. I'm trying to understand from Councillor Drodge the question we're trying to address. So whether something like, if council is interested in the 30 meters, that it's 30 meters on the same side of the street as being that setback, and that may resolve Councillor Drodge's query.
CEO Jersha.
Maybe I'll try framing this a little bit differently. I think if we look at the wording of the bylaw, what we're really talking about is how often do we want to require the approval of the restaurant owner, right? Because that's the trigger. It's not that there's a prohibition. It says that you have to then get the restaurant owner to approve, to agree, right? So all we're really talking about is under what circumstances are we going to require that buy-in from the abutting property owner. So I think if council would prefer that question be asked more often, you could just say 30-meter radius and be done with it. And then you wouldn't worry about the road, you wouldn't worry about, whether there's a 10-foot wide strip of land in between. So I think if that's council's preference, barring any further comments from Mr. Correa, I'd like that's an option.
Go ahead, Councillor Drott.
Thank you, Your Worship. So I agree. Unfortunately, though, there are two existing refreshment trailers that would be involved in that 30-meter radius. So I'd actually struggled with this all week about possibly putting that forward, but my concern was that I didn't want to hinder those two refreshment trailers, and then I thought about grandfathering it, existing trailers in, and do we really want to have that in our bylaw? So these are all things that I've kind of been swaying with. So I'm leaning more towards leaving abutting in, but 30 meters, and I would like to see it from the property line, not the building itself. So the property line that the building is sitting on, 30 meters from that, abutting or adjacent, or whatever word you'd like to use to keep it on that side of the road. That's kind of what I would like to see if council wanted to entertain something like that.
Might I suggest, since, this time of year, there's not, I'd like to know if there's any time sensitivity to this, because I can't imagine there's going to be a lot of food trucks out for the next few months. So is this something we want to send back to staff with direction on what specifically we're looking for, so we're not spinning our wheels, and have it come back? And I would just ask Manager Carrera what he thought about that.
Through you, Mayor Dolan, so I'm fine with that. It can be referred back to staff. We can take the feedback and address the bylaw appropriately and come back to council.
Director Lee, any further?
No, Mayor Dolan, that's not a problem. I think we've got the clarity from Councillor Drodge.
Councillor Drott?
I'm looking at Clerk Patty Toma. She's like, how am I going to write this? So yeah, but we can go through with the first part of that. Can we break it up so we can have the 25 refreshment trailers go through tonight so that people can plan for spring, and then only just push back for the
Yes.
distance?
Mayor Dolan?
Yes.
If I can perhaps jump in, I'm going to suggest, I think it's a fairly simple change that we can probably revise and get it back to the clerk so we can try and get it on the next council agenda.
Thank you.
Mayor Dolan, just for clarification, so I think we don't need to break out the recommendation. It's simply referring it back, okay, as it's on the screen right now. Yeah.
Okay, so my question would be, aren't the agendas due like tomorrow for the next council meeting? Staff reports, I mean?
Through your worship, no, the next council meeting will be November the 13th, so we've got time for that.
All right. So, Councillor Drodge, are you okay with the referred back to staff?
Through your worship, yes, I am.
Deputy Mayor is nodding. So we have a motion to refer. Any further questions or comments on the referral? Seeing none, all of those in favor? That is carried. Thank you. And next we'll go to the RISE recommendation, please. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Deputy Mayor Fowler and Councillor Ices, all those in favor? That's carried. And we have no notices of motion, and so we'll go on to consideration to adopt the recommendations from Committee of the Whole. And that was the one referral. And I would ask for a mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Drodge and Councillor Zanella, all those in favor? That is carried. And next we'll go to announcements. Councillor Ices.
Thank you, Your Worship. Last week I had the pleasure of, along with Mayor Dolan and MP John Brassard, to the Stroud Veterinary Hospital as they celebrated their 20th anniversary. It's great to have these long-serving businesses in our community. There's a a unique event happening next week at the Stroud Curling Club. The event is called Welcome the World Senior Curling. So this was an event that Robert and Sherry Armstrong from Innisfil had came up with way back in 2011, where they designed an event that offers senior curlers the opportunity to travel, tour, and curl with others who share a passion for the game of curling. So the town will be hosting teams from all around the world, and I look forward to seeing that next week, starting on Monday. The Spartans are in action again on October 27th versus the Huntsville Otters, and also October 31st versus the Penetang Kings. The Spartans would also want you to save the date for their annual pajama toss game in support of C4 Kids on December 15th, Christmas for Kids on December the 15th. The Silver Club on October the 24th has an arts and craft event at the YMCA, and on Halloween night, the 31st, there's a potluck. Also on October 26th, the Pumpkin Fest is at Innisfil Community Church between 11 and 2. Those are my announcements.
Thank you very much, Councillor Ices. I popped into the Silver Club last week, and boy, oh boy, they have a lot of fun there. Councillor Constantine?
Thank you, Your Worship. So on Saturday, there will be a Halloween dance at the Legion, and the price is $15 per person, and it starts at 7:30. And on Sunday, there will be youth dart also at the Legion, and the age is 13 and up, and it's from 12 to 2:30, and it's free admission with donation to the food bank. Starting November 7th, also at the Legion, there will be competitive dart league, and that will be starting at 7:30. And it's puppy season, so you can sign up at the Legion. They need people to stand at the Walmart, the Sobeys, and no frills for puppies tagging. So we all did it last year as a council, and I'm pretty sure we'll be doing it this year. And last year, I did very well with a lot of money. So I'm going to try this year again. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you, Councillor. Only if you get rid of that cold can you stand outside and sell poppies. Councillor Richardson.
Okay, so this week is, as you can see, is local government week. So tomorrow from 3:30 to 4:30 at the Lakeshore branch, there is an info session there. Oh, next Thursday? No, sorry.
Sorry, Councillor, so unfortunately, we only had very few people sign up for that, so it was canceled.
Oh,
so.
I apologize,
Okay.
sorry. Okay. And this weekend is Spooktacular, going up and down Innisfil Beach Road. One of my favorite events is from 11 till 2. Up and down Innisfil Beach Road, there'll be all sorts of businesses that are there for trick-or-treating, as well as at the library. Last weekend on Saturday was the music market at Town Square, put on to help support the Triton Band. I was a little sad that my guy's not in the Triton Band anymore, but it was really great to hear them play, and love to be able to support them, and love that there was lots of people at Town Square. At Sobeys tomorrow is Cram a Cruiser from 3 to 6 p.m. in support of the Innisfil Food Bank. Paint and Pint Night is at the Moon Cafe on Sunday at 6 p.m. As well as the Halloween house decorating contest starts on Friday and goes till October 31st. You can vote online to pick your winners. And lastly, there is Youth Call Walking Counseling Clinic that is happening every Thursday at the Lakeshore branch from 11 to 7 p.m. And then lastly, November 2nd and 3rd is the annual Autumn Art Show and Sale at the Lakeshore branch.
Lovely, thank you. Councillor Waters.
Thank you, Your Worship. October 25th is Euchre at Lions Hall. October 25th is a Halloween party costume contest at CW Coops at 7 p.m. And then last November 1st is the annual pumpkin walk at Innisfil Beach Park. You bring your own pumpkins in the morning and then come back and see them lined along the pathway at nighttime. I think that'd be quite nice. So,
Thank you, Councillor Zanella. Nothing?
Quiet and wood fun.
Okay. Councillor Saunders.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Excuse me. October 25th, 26th, and 27th at Friday Harbor is their last weekend for the Halloween walk. On November 10th at 2 o'clock is the Sandy Cove Remembrance Day ceremony. And as well, last weekend, the Sandy Cove Art and Craft Show was on. And it was amazing to see how many residents had booths there. It grows and grows every year. So it was really cool to see all that happening.
Yes, it was packed. Thank you. Councillor Drodge.
Thank you, Your Worship. On October 26th, Bonanza is happening in Cookstown from 11 to 1 p.m. October 26th also, there's Harbor House Grill hosting Hello Harvest Market from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. November 1st, there's the Triton Music Concert at the Churchill United Church at 6:30. November 2nd is the second annual Interfaith Symposium. That's from 2:30 to 5 p.m. at the Morgan Russell Arena. November 8th is the Scandinavian Christmas Market and Bakery from 3 to 9 p.m. at the, saying it wrong, Lestedian Lutheran Church. And then on November 10th in Cookstown, the Cenotaph is hosting its Remembrance Day service, and it's at 10:45 a.m.
Councillor Drodge, you're not going to brag about your soup win?
Actually, I was going to brag about MP John Bassard getting first place at the Guilford Hall Soup Contest, and my wife and I were lucky enough to place second, just behind him by 1 vote.
And they were very good, both of them. Deputy Mayor Fowler.
Thank you. It's been a busy week. We, at the Town Hall, we had the Speak Your Mind Mental Health Initiative, where we had a workshop to address concerns with our youth, providing necessary tools to move forward, as well as resources available to anybody, no matter age or gender. I attended the Paramedic Honor Guard Ball recently to raise money for the memorial that they want to build in Ottawa beside the Firefighters Memorial and the Police Memorial. I think this is actually rather appropriate considering the work that they do for the community. This past week, many members of council attended the Wally Festival with the Innisfil Indian Association, which was actually really fun. And apparently I can dance to Bollywood very well. I also attended on that same day a Sukkot festival with Chabad Innisfil. That day is in honor of the Jews when they went for the 40-year trek into the desert when they left Egypt, and it's something they celebrate. It's one of the high holy days, which is really cool. Mayor Dolan and Councillor Constantine and I were at the Prestige Lounge in Stroud for their grand opening this past week. So it's good to see more local businesses, setting foot in town and trying to establish themselves. Upcoming on November 6th, we have the in-service public meeting regarding the Cookstown Wastewater Treatment Plan Environmental Assessment. It's something that if you live in the Cookstown area, I think it'd be wise to take note of. We have on November 9th, the winter market at the Grange Hall, which is being put into play. Everyone's mentioned the various Remembrance Day ceremonies, which I hope to see many, many people at. And most importantly, the big announcement for me is this past week, I learned that our Chief of Police, Jonathan Van Dyke, has been in service for 35 years with the South Simcoe Police. I think that is phenomenal. It shows a dedication to community, and I have nothing but the utmost respect for the work he has done and continues to do for the community. So congratulations to him. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I will keep it pretty short. I just wanted to let you all know, in case you didn't, that as of Monday night, last Monday night, was the election night 2 years ago. So your term is half over. I told you all when we started this adventure how fast time would go. and it's half over. So it was, now we started onboarding you all to get you all up to speed. And I just have to say that I've been extremely impressed with the council and how dedicated that each of you are in your role in your community. So thank you for that. And quickly just talk about a couple of things that we've accomplished to date. So the updated strategic plan, which was really important to do. We launched our electoral engagement and our ward boundary review, which are ongoing. We've had a huge increase in community engagement with the launch of our winter weekends, the Innisfil, the first one we had. We revamped our neighborhood nights and our teen nights, and as well had an expansion of our diversity and inclusion efforts by regularly engaging with our community groups. And I think that's, through the announcements, you can hear that all that's happening. We've also navigated some complex changes to provincial legislation, such as strong mayor powers, and significant changes to planning legislation and housing targets. And I know that's been a moving target for our planning department. We've committed to sustainability efforts through our Sustainability Master Plan. And we've done the expansion of our Breaking Down Barriers campaign with our Accessibility Committee. And we've done significant fundraising. Well, we haven't, but our community has done some significant fundraising for the future of the RVH Innisfil campus. So it's been a great 2 years, and we still have 2 more years to make great, mindful impacts to our community. Local Government Week, you've heard a bit about already, so I won't go on with that. I do want to tell you that there is a flag raising here for polio. It's World Polio Day, which is, of course, our Rotary Club champions the eradication of polio, and that will be on Thursday. And I'm looking forward to spending some time looking at all the beautifully decorated homes in Innisfil and picking the mayor's pick for the Halloween contest. And that's all I have. So unless there's any more announcements, I see none. We'll move on then to the confirming bylaw and adjournment, and that would be moved by Deputy Mayor Fowler and seconded by Councillor Saunders. All those in favor?